Hi, did you click on this video because you want to improve your piano technique? Then you're in the right place. Do you ever wonder what is it that people with good technique are doing and that makes them better and that you are not doing and that makes you struggle? Well, allow me to share with you 10 secrets of good piano technique that every professional pianist knows. And even if you don't have a teacher, and if you follow those 10 things, if you do them right, I promise you your piano technique will be tremendously better. Secret number one, most important thing, is you need to learn how to release. When we play the piano, you can describe it in 2 words. Everyone understands those words. It's weight transfer. We have weight. We give the weight from our shoulder, the finger, and the finger gives weight to the key. Then to play the next key, we transfer that weight to the next key. It could be 2 keys. And then we transfer and transfer. And at the end, what happens? We need to release that weight. And in order to release that weight, of course, we can drop down the entire arm, which is a great exercise before you start your practice session. Dropping down, feeling the weight of the heavy arms, and then dropping it on the keys like this, making sure that this is relaxed and you're not having any tension. However, we don't have that luxury when you play the keys in the middle of the passage. You can't drop your arm all the way down. However, what you can do is you can drop from your wrist down. This is a great way to release weight. Exaggerate for now in the beginning, go down and then up. And that release, make sure that you feel that weight right here. And your fingers are like dead weight, right? They're just dropping down. Next, give weight, release. Give weight, release. Once you understand how that gesture works, you can make it much smaller. Minimal. Now, when you play slow, you might not notice that you're actually not releasing and that you have accumulated a lot of tension here that will later on transfer to your forearm, and then it will feel like it's made out of iron and you can no longer move it. That is not a feeling that I would recommend to anybody. It's very uncomfortable and you should not play through pain. So drop. If you feel pain, drop down. Now, if you do that in fast tempo, you will notice that you have accumulated a lot of tension. You don't need to release on every single note. You don't need to do this because this also leads to a bad habit of just shaking your wrist on every note. We don't want that. You need to learn to find places where you can release. For example, at the end of a slur, if I have a gesture like this at the end, I can release. It doesn't have to be so huge. A little bit. Like this. But you start with exaggerated movement so you can feel that. If you don't know how to release, I have a video on that. Whole video, how to release tension. Secret number 2. It has to do with the proper hand position. I can't say enough how important it is to have good, strong, advantageous hand position when you play the piano. The most important thing is that you need to ensure that all of your fingers are curved, including thumb, and then that you have the arch here where these knuckles are up slightly above the wrist. And then you have this arch between these knuckles and the tip of your finger. As soon as this arch is fallen down like this, you could try to play like this and see. You have very little strength in your fingers and almost zero control of the stroke that's about to happen. As soon as you raise these knuckles up, you'll feel much more security and strength from the palm. The palm needs to support your fingers. And the majority, the strongest finger movement comes from this knuckle, from this joint. So you need to learn how to feel that the bigger movement comes from here. And one way to do it, you can put the other hand right under and make sure you are holding up the dome like this. And then when you strike the key, you can feel that your effort is from the highest point. Another way to engage these bigger joints is to exaggerate the movement before you strike, the preparation to go higher. We don't usually play like that. This is not a way to really play. This is just an exercise to ensure that you can feel that the movement is coming from this joint. It doesn't mean that we don't use the smaller joint for playing or for a movement. We do. These smaller joints we actually use much more to control to have precision and control of the sound and the quality of the touch that we want. To quickly illustrate the hand position one more time from this angle. Everything curved. Here's your arch. Knuckles above, wrist slightly below. Thumb is curved. Every single finger is curved. You don't have anything that looks like this. You don't have anything that's falling inwards like this. And your stroke comes from here. You're going to feel this joint. Either you can exaggerate the movement as an exercise, or you can take the other hand right under, put right here, and then when you play, feel that this is where the stroke comes from. You can feel this muscle here. And pinky is not sideways and not laying down. Secret number 3 has to do with the thumb and the pinky. The thumb has to always be on the keys. You cannot drop the thumb here, because then when you need to use it, you do this, and that's absolutely unnecessary extra movement you don't need to do. And you can get there on time. It's slow, right? So thumb needs to be curved, facing the other fingers. You should not be facing here, because when we use thumb to change position, it needs to go this way. Or here, it still needs to be folded inwards, right? So always keep it here. And you need to make sure that you put only a little bit of your thumb, like that much of part of the nail, down. You don't put this much, only a little bit. And then the last thing about the thumb, learn 2 positions. Normal position, when you have kind of thumb in this down position, and then the high position. The high position is a little higher, as you can see. It allows you to make the thumb more agile, more flexible, and lighter. And this is absolutely needed when you have positional changes, because on the piano we change position, meaning that if you run out of 5-finger position, you need more fingers, you can't grow more, and if you can't use the other hand, you need to go over the thumb, or the thumb needs to keep going over here. For example, scales, arpeggios, all of them need the thumb. And if the thumb is low, it's harder, and it will be heavy when you play. So to ensure position change happens gradually, smoothly, and without extra emphasis on the thumb, you need to use a high position thumb, which makes it lighter, more agile. The pinky should never be falling down like this and just relying on the hand making the movement. Pinky needs to have autonomy of movement. And again, this knuckle should never be facing in, it should be facing up. Try to make sure it is parallel to the keys, facing this way. It shouldn't be facing sideways like this. It shouldn't be laying down sideways either. So it's facing down, and then you're facing down with the tip of your finger also, not flat, and try not to make your fingers go like this. Neither your fingers should ever do this, right? Hand position, remember, everything is curved, including your fingertips. Sometimes you allow yourself to have flat fingers, specifically when black keys are involved. But again, flat finger doesn't mean it's like this. Falling in that joint, big no. Secret number 4, flexible wrists. You need to know the 4 main movements of the wrists, and I also have a special video on that. But the 4 movements, briefly, are down, up, sideways, where the wrist follows the finger, circular, where you have this, kind of making a circle, and then rotation, kind of a doorknob opening. You need to make sure that you feel how your wrist has its own movements independently of the fingers, and it's loose, and you unlocked your wrist. If you have a locked wrist and you never use it when you play and just play with your fingers, you will never achieve flexibility of your movements and fluidity, especially when you need to go for bigger distances. And if you need to shape your line, your wrist will guide your hand and your fingers. You need to make sure it's fluid and it's supple. Secret number 5, elastic hand. The elastic hand has to do with open and close position when you play. Open position is when you need to, for example, stretch far, and then it creates the stretch in your hand, which is obviously uncomfortable depending on how far you're going. You can't stay in the stretch position. It creates tension, creates discomfort, and you simply won't be able to play much longer like that. So if you have something like this, you need to go back into close position as soon as you strike the key. So, for example, I'm closing. If you have a smaller distance still, I don't need to remain like this. Close, close, close. And this elasticity of being able to quickly open and close also allows you a lot of things that have to do with a longer line. For example, for arpeggio, notice how here I need to quickly make my hand very little. It's like it fits into one key, and then I need to immediately open, right? Close, open. All those position changes, close, open. Remember, don't keep stretched, even if you play chords. Don't try to keep it stretched like that before the next chord. Drop. Release that shape, and then reposition quickly, open again, close, open. Quickly to illustrate from this angle, this is the stretched position, and you don't need to remain in stretched position. You can simply close, right? I keep closing. If I need to go here, I close. Instead of This was part 1, and if you want to know the other 5 tips, follow me to the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.